470 and he died in 1999 BC. Okay, and Plato, Socrates' student, he was born in 428 BC, around that, and he died in around 348 BC. Okay, and for Aristotle, Plato's student, then he was born in 384 BC and he died in around 322 BC. Okay. Now, so when Aristotle wrote about tragedies, he was around 100 years behind them. He didn't know them. Okay. The last one of them, for example, Euripides would die in 406 BC already, and you have to wait for around another 20 years before Aristotle was born. So because it was such a long time ago, to put in perspective, it means like Ho Chi Minh died in 1969, and then 1988 I was born. So I would not have known Ho Chi Minh as a person, as you can see. So same thing in here. And we were talking about the latest. Now for people like Aeschylus here, as you can see, Aristotle and Aeschylus, the time period that they were born in, as you can see, would be around 130 years apart. Like me and my great-grandfather. I would not know anything about him. He was born in 1888. I know that his name was Le Quy Khiêm, but that's all. Besides that, nothing. You see? Well, of course, I know the genealogy and everything, but still, I had no idea who he was. The moment he was born. I was born in 1988. He was born in 1980. Oh, yeah, it's actually 100 years. So you have that. Okay. Yep. Some perspective for you. Now, the Greek culture, obviously, Greek cultures had a long, long history, just like any other culture. But most of the time, when people talk about the Greek culture, they started with the Persian Wars. Okay, before the Persian Wars, Greeks didn't really have a country or a nation state as we understand it nowadays. It's mostly just city states. They were small, they were very, very individual and separated, and they kind of don't like each other a lot, but they have, because they have so many enemies, they have to make alliances with some of them so that they have less enemies, you can say. Yeah, the biggest of them all would be Athens, okay, and Sparta. And you know this name because they were big. Okay, the rest of them like Corinth and Thebes and Ionians, and then they're quite small cities basically. But the biggest would be Athens and Sparta. Okay, so what happened during the Persian Wars? So we have to talk about that again here. Now, the Persian Wars was obviously caused by or initiated by the Persian army. So now, during the 490 BC, the Persian was already an empire. Okay, I think you know them in Vietnamese too. Persian in Vietnamese, what does that mean? Ba Tư? Really? Để chế Ba Tư? Doesn't sound right. Are you sure? No, four is Prussia. Um, well, I don't know. You can Google them. They're the Vietnamese name. I don't know the. Yeah, so they chế Ba Tư. Oh, that sounds nice. Anyway, so they let me see if I can have the painting for you. Okay. Yeah, online people you can still see, right? Let me see if I'm sharing right. Am I sharing the right thing? Yeah, I'm sharing the whole screen. Okay, so here we were talking about this is the Persian Empire during the 490 BC. So we were talking about 2,500 years ahead of us. Okay, Persian Empire was huge. It stretched all the way from Minor Asia or like Far East Asia, sorry, Far West Asia, all the way to India. You see? So the Persian Empire was powerful. Now, when you compare that to the Greek city-state, you see, it's just like human fighting the ants. So the Persian Empire had never regarded the Greek city-states as something powerful. They were really, really small and powerless and insignificant. So they were only interested in the Ionians. Okay, this is the Ionians. And they did conquer Ionians. So Ionians were actually subjected to the Persian Empire. Okay, what are you looking at? Are you listening at all? You don't care. You don't care about history. People like you see, you repeat history because you don't care about it. Okay, and like right now we are in the process of a new nhân văn giải phẩm thing where everything is censored, and it's a scary period. Yeah. Anyway, so Ionian here. So in 490, Ionians were already under the rule of the Persian Empire, but they didn't like it because they were Greek. Okay, so they said, nah, not gonna do it again. So they decided to revolt, and obviously, did they succeed? Yes or no? No, they did not succeed. They were crushed because they were so small. But then Persian Empire decided, okay, I don't like this thing happening again and again. If these Ionians could revolt, and then they could actually inspire the people to revolt. So the Persian Empire decided, now I'm gonna do it once and for all. I'm gonna conquer all of Greece. Okay, so then started the first Persian War against the Greeks. So we call them the Greco-Persian War. That's the first war was started in 490 BC. The first kings of the first emperor of the Persian War, you have him here, and he started it. Okay, here we go. He's Darius the first. So you have that now, 490 BC. You have the first Persian War. Yeah, started by Darius the first. Okay, and in that one, then you have the first invasion, and then you had the first famous Battle of Marathon. How did the name come to be? What happened in the Battle of Marathon? Let me see if I can Google some map for you in the Battle of Marathon. Oh, why is it this one? Battle of Marathon is a very, very important uh, map. Where's the map? That may be an easy map. Now, the Battle of Marathon is one of the most important battles in the history of Greece. And why? As you can see, when the Persian army attacked Greece, obviously they have to do it by land or sea. Sea, obviously, it has to be by the sea. So when they landed in the marathon is a bay. Okay, it's a bay marathon. So what happened was that the Greek were already there to confront them, and the Greek were very small in numbers, but they won. Okay, you were talking about a very, very brilliant strategic mind here, trying to lead the Greeks to victory, and they were Athenians only. Okay, they asked the Spartan to come and help them, but the Spartans said, yeah, no, we are in the middle of a festival, so we're not going to help you. So the Athenians won, they were alone, and yet they defeated the Persian army. And we were talking about, I don't have the specific number, but we were talking about tens of thousands at least, and then versus like around a few hundreds, you see. And they managed to kill around 6,000 people, well, soldiers from the Persian army, and then they only die like 100, 150. So they were very, very smart. Okay, and remember this context for me again, because we were talking about it last time. Why did the Athens, especially the Athenians, why did they have so few people, and yet they produce so many great masterpieces and then great thinkers? Because they were very confident. Well, why were they confident? Well, because they could defeat the Persian army. This was the first time the Greek people suddenly rethought themselves and say, we were not that stupid. We were not that small. We were actually powerful, and we could defeat the Persian army. And that is all thanks to the marathon battle. Okay. Now, why you have the name marathon as a marathon race now? There was some disputes about that. But back then, obviously, they ran. They didn't really have anything but running. So one of the stories told us that, well, it's called marathon race because back then they have to run like 200 kilometers to ask for help from the Sparta. Another story by Thucydides is that, well, they run back to Athens after the battle of Marathon, and they won. They run back to Athens and they announce the victory. And that distance from Athens to Marathon is around 22 miles or 42 kilometers. That is why nowadays when you try to run a marathon, you run 42 kilometers. Okay. And remember, Aeschylus, he actually participated in the Battle of Marathon. So he knew history. He felt great. Okay. People there, it was a great time. Okay, so the Persian army got a little bit discouraged and they said, nah, let's go home, let's regroup. The Greeks did not turn out to be quite insignificant as we thought. So now we amass something else. Um, I should have recorded the numbers for you, but we don't have that here. So 10 years after that, the Greek decided to attack and conquer, the Persian army, the Persian Empire decided to attack and conquer Greeks again. Okay. And this time it was by the son of Darius, Xerxes. Okay. He was actually the son, okay, of Darius the first. And he amassed like 100,000 soldiers, okay. And they went by sea again. And then they gave us the two very, very famous battles, the battles of Salamis, which is very famous. And also the first one, the battle of Thermopylae. This one, let me see if I have the map for you. I may have that map for you right here. No, no, no. Now I only have the Battle of Salamis. Now, the part of Thermopylae, you may know it a little bit more because in this time, now in 480 BC, what was going on is that the Greeks, because after they defeated the Persian army, what did they do? They were Greek. They went back to, did they have peace? No, they don't like peace. So after they fought the armies that is coming from outside, they turn back and fight themselves. Okay, they love fighting, especially the Spartan. So in 480, they were actually in the middle of another war. The Spartan, the Athens, they were actually fighting. They love fighting. Okay, but then the Persian army came again, so they said, okay, let's just stop the fight. We have a kind of a temporary truce, and then we finish fighting with the Persian, and then we can come back and then fight each other again. Okay, so this one, they have a temporary alliance. Okay, the Sparta and the Athenians, the Spartans and the Athenians, they joined forces now. So in the battle of Thermopylae, the Spartans were in charge, and they tried to defend themselves against the Persians' army by holding this kind of spot, but then they were being outnumbered. So what happened is that the leader of the Spartan army, they said, you go, run. We are going to stay back here, a few of us, 300 people. We're going to stay back and we're going to fight them. And they tried to fight and kill as many Persian soldiers as they could until all of them were vanquished. And that gave you the famous story of the 300 valiant soldiers. Have you seen the movie 300? It's a classic story about that battle. Yeah. So the Spartans were very, very famous for being brave warriors because of that. Okay. Athenians, they were more like navy and smart people, but they were not exactly like warriors like the Spartans. Okay. So that in the Battle of Thermopylae, it talks about the bravery of the Greek. Okay, in front of this kind of huge wave of Persian army. Okay, so they were very, very proud people because of that. Even though they were defeated, though, 300 of them were actually killed. And then in the Battle of Salami, okay, here you have it. In the Battle of Salami, then now the Persian army, after they defeated the Spartans in the Thermopylae battle, then they went on, they marched on into the land, okay, into the mainland, and then they marched on to Athens. But then Athens was deserted because all of the Greek they already went and then they stored them, they installed themselves in boats. They were very small boats. They were called the triremes. The triremes was actually a very famous invention by the Greek. Okay, the triremes. And the triremes was actually famous because they were very small compared to the Persian ships. They were very big. And what happened was that the Persian people and the Persian soldiers, they look at the ships, the Athenian ships waiting for them at sea, and they laugh and they said, "Oh my God, these are ants. They don't really care." So they just go out there and they were going to try and crush the Athenian ships. Okay, the triremes. What happened is that the triremes, because they were so small and they were so fast, what happened is that they actually sailed alongside the planks, the Persian ships, and then they scratched them all. They slashed them all until they drowned. Okay, because they were so small, they tried to go out to the side, the planks, the size of the ships, and then they just slashed them. So again, the Persian army lost. Okay, the second time. And after that, after the two times that they were defeated, they kind of said, nah, we can't really conquer them anymore. And actually, the ironic part of the history is that around 100 to 180 years after, the Persian army and the Persian Empire would actually be conquered by the Greek, by a very famous guy. His name is Alexander the Great. Okay, but that would be a little bit later. Okay, so now after this one, the whole city-state system of the Greek, they enter a golden age, you can say. Okay, we call that the golden age of the Pyrrhus, or golden age. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pyrrhus is the leader of Athens. Okay, and this lasted from around 461 to around 490 to 29 BC, in which Athens flourished. Okay, we were talking about like the very, very fast period of thriving. You can say a prosperity when people started to say, good, 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 good. Okay, now, but that obviously didn't really last because when they were in their golden age, they became very proud. And what do you do when you become proud? Well, you go and you fight people. Okay, so they started the war, the very, very famous war with the Spartans again. Remember, they were only had a truce. After the defeat of the Persian army, now they came back and they fought each other. Okay, so then you have the famous war again, the Peloponnesian War. You may have heard of the Peloponnesian War already, right? So what happened after the defeat of the Persian army was that Athens and Sparta, they became leaders. And because they became leaders, they tried to amass a certain, number of city-states to their cause. So they formed two big alliances, the Delian one and the Peloponnesian one. The Delian one was headed by Athens, and the Peloponnesian one was headed by Sparta, and they fought. Okay, Sparta was very strong on land because they had a lot of warriors. Athens was actually only strong, at sea. They have a very strong navy. Okay, what happened to them was that during the war they suffer from a huge plague. Okay, and that you can actually see why people like Aristotle and especially Plato, um, they talk about the rise and but also the falls of Athens as a prefiguring in the republic. Later on, when we read Plato's Republic, we can see that they don't like expanding. Also, because of that, the idea that Athens was too proud and then they tried to expand did not end well with them. So they believed that expansion was not exactly a good idea. Wars are never welcome. And a plague might be a sign that you need to stop expanding. So this kind of idea came to them in their works a lot. So the Peloponnesian War was named like that because the Spartan side won the war. Athens actually lost. So the golden age of Pericles was actually kind of gone by the end of the war. So you have this one, okay? It was around 400 to around 404. Okay, and then because of this, as you can see, around 70 years after this, then there was a very, very tiny, tiny city state, Macedonia. Okay, Macedonia was very, very small. I can show you. I can show you them on the map. Let me see if I can get the map here for you. Yeah, the Macedonian. They come from Macedon. You see that tiny, tiny place right here. Okay. Yeah, they were not major city states, but somehow they gave birth to a guy, Alexander the Great. Okay, so he come from that. So you can also call the the Greek Empire the Macedonian Empire because he was actually, Alexander the Great there. And he was famous because he has a famous tutor to Aristotle. Remember? Yep. Now, and if you can see this kind of timeline, then you can see what happened to each of our great person here. You can say, for example, Aeschylus, yeah, he was there. As you can see, he knew the Persian Empire, the Persian invasion. For example, he would actually be quite mature enough when the first War was there, and then he actually participated in it. So he knew the Persian War, obviously. But when we talk about people like Sophocles, he was only like 7 when the Persian Wars took place. He didn't really know that war well, but he lived through the whole 5th century BC. So he knew a lot. Now, if you notice, you can see that the oldest person here to die would be Sophocles. When he died, he was around 90 years old. He would be around 91 years old when he died. Now, Aeschylus would be around, I would say, 50, 51. You see? So Sophocles lived a long life. He see the rise and the fall of Athens. He see the rise and the fall of Greek city-states. Okay, so he has a lot more to say um, in his plays. Like when next week we read Sophocles' play, the Oedipus, and especially Antigone, he talks about the rules of humans and then the rules of gods. And he has Antigone say, humans' rules don't last. They come and they go. But the rules of God, they last forever. They are immortal rules. Okay, so you have this kind of thing. And for Euripides, as you can see, he was born in 480, so he barely knew the Persian army and the Persian wars. And he grew up, as you can see, during this kind of turmoil, okay, between the Greek cities and the battles. You can see, and then he may also, as you can see, towards the end of his life. Now he died before the end of the Peloponnesian War, so he didn't know that Athens lost. But the plague and everything he knew. Um, Euripides would be praised by Aristotle that having the most tragic plots of all. Like when you read his play, you can see how tragic they are compared to people like Aeschylus. It's not that tragic, but for Euripides, he had very tragic plots. Okay, and now you can see two people like Socrates. Yeah, Socrates was born in 470. He did not know the wars, as you can see, but he was also in the middle of that kind of rise and fall of Greek city states. Okay, and Plato was his student when he was born. The golden age of Pericles in Athens was already gone. Okay, and you can see here, none of them got to live to enjoy Alexander the Great and the Greek Empire. Okay, they don't really have that chance. So they were living in that kind, they were actually living before the golden Hellenistic era of Greek culture. Okay, they did not know that Greek would actually be that great. Okay, so the Macedonia, Alexander the Great. Now, because he could actually conquer like a large part of Europe and also of Asia, he was considered even now one of the brightest militant leader of the empires of all the empires we have had so far in history. So he was actually quite smart. Okay, and then he ushered the Hellenistic era, the golden age of Greece, you can say. Okay, from around 323 BC all the way to 30 BC. And after that, they would be lost to the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire would come and conquer them in around 80 years. So you wait for another 80 years, they would be lost to the Roman Empire. Okay? Yeah. Now, Hellenistic is a little bit different from Hellenic. Okay, so be careful. Hellenistic is a period in which Greek culture dominated areas beyond Greece nowadays. We were talking about Hellenistic periods as dominating the countries of a large part of Asia. Okay, a large part of Asia, Minor Asia, and Western Asia. So it's not just the Greek area. Hellenic is just basically Greek. Okay, so Hellenistic is different from Hellenic, so be careful. Hellenic is just like Greek, basically. Okay. Okay. Now, any questions before we move on? Let's see. Why am I not seeing anything about the online people? I should be out here. Okay, found you understood everything so far because I'm using the new. So I don't know if people can hear. Why is the Kong Thành one there again? Is he on holiday again?
No.
Then why?
Uh, I am very lazy.
What the hell is wrong with you? I'm gonna talk to your mother.
I
Now,
I have no reason to go out today, so I'm very lazy to like just walk to class.
anyway, let's continue. Now we talk about Aristotle. We have mentioned Aristotle a little bit when we talk about rhetorics. Remember? Yeah, rhetorics. Yeah, on rhetoric. Aristotle wrote a lot of books starting with on rhetoric, on poetic, on politics. You know, he has a lot. So here we talk about the main part of on poetics. Okay. Now, the sad thing about Aristotle's on poetic is that it was not, well, he completed it, but it's lost. Half of it is lost, which is really, really sad for us. And that's why, you know, physicians and physicists, you might want to invent the time machine very soon, and we can go back and we can actually see what he has to write. So for 2000 years, we only know what he wrote about tragedies. You That also may be like part of the reasons why tragedies got so much more famous than comedies when we learn Greek studies. You see, now of course there's a lot more reasons than that. People are in naturally they were more fascinated with sad things than happy things. I mean, Shakespeare loved to write tragedies. He doesn't have a lot of comedies either. Even now, we love sad stories. We don't really love happy stories. And it is a very fitting moment for us to talk about this because of all the things that were going on in the Odyssey, the movie, and it was coming back to us, um, and all the political events that were going on right now too. So on poetics only give us Aristotle's ideas about tragedies. And we have to actually guess what's left he has left to say, from what he has little left to say. We have to infer from that what he actually has to say about comedies, and we don't know much. He does make some comparison at the beginning, but that's all. Everything else is lost. Okay, so we do know that Aristotle talks a little bit about comedies and epics, and he tried to compare tragedies with epics and comedies. The first thing that is hugely different is that comedies focus on politics and contemporary events. Tragedies focus on timeless and abstract and philosophical ideas. Okay, so that would be a very big different one. Tragedies, they focus on universal, philosophical, and abstract ideas. Comedies, you will read one comedy soon, Aristophanes, the clowns, right? This one, for those who are interested in reading them first, it looks thick because there's three plays there. There's three comedies here, the clown, the wasp, and the bird. But you only have to read the clown. So it's like only like, you know, like it's short, it's very short. Comedies don't focus on this. They were actually just making fun of contemporary people. So it's actually harder to read comedies because you have to know the political and the current events and the people. So they make a lot of references to current events. Just like now, when you watch like gặp nhau cuối năm, you have to know the incidents, you have to know the events. Otherwise, you don't know what they're making fun of, right? Same thing with you. When you tell me a joke, I have to be like inside. Otherwise, I don't know what you're referring to. Like 69, no idea. 67, I have no idea. So jokes tend to be a lot more localized than tragedies. You see, we don't know why, just the way things are. 69, 67, are they the same? No. Cook, you cooked. Like the Kong Tang one, he just got cooked by me. Is that how you say it? That I'm cooking him? No. You see, if you don't know the joke, you don't know how to use it. That's what going on with comedy. When you read it, you have to see a lot of notes there, like, oh, that's what he's referring to, etc. Okay. Now tragedies. Basically, Aristotle says that now tragedies or literature in general, okay, they were talking about the arts of imitation or mimesis, okay. Because you imitate life. And especially this is fitting to tragedy because they were inherently plays, right? You have actors, they come on stage and then they act. Now, these actors are very, very different from Shakespearean actors, and they are very different from our times actors. Okay? The first big difference would be the masks. In the past, people used the masks. They did not show their bare face. Okay, so you would actually go on stage and then you wear the mask. And that is why the symbol now, even now, of theater would be the two masks, the laughing and the crying masks. Remember? Do you know the symbol of theater? No. What is the symbol of movie then? I think it's a recorder. The symbol of music would be like the, well, you need to know this because when you come to Los Angeles and then you go to the Walk of Fame or the Hall of Fame, and then they show you the name of the artist, and they also put the symbols there to know that what field they are famous for. So you have to know the symbol. Okay. Yep. For theater, it would be the two masks, one laughing and one crying. Okay. Now, why did they use masks back then? Because just like in Shakespeare's time, women could not play, they could not act. Okay. Only men. When men play women, it can be difficult. And second, plays back then or tragedies back then were used for entertainment by a large audience. Remember, we were talking about prizes. Every year they hold big contests for prizes, and Aeschylus would be the one who won the most prizes for tragedies. And then they have comedies, and then they have, other the performing arts that they can actually compete for. Yeah, so we're talking about a lot of people. Now, if you stand away very far, you need a big mass that show you the basic emotions of the character. Okay. So you don't have a lot. Obviously, they don't exchange mass because then it would confuse people. So the mass will show you. That is why back then you have that one. For example, this is the character Nguyen, the sad one. The sad Nguyen, the happy Tian Minh, the angry Chi, for example, the melancholy Nguyen, for example. So we have this kind of mass, and they symbolize only one dominant feeling. Make sense? Now you can see something that Aristotle was trying to depict back then. First, about character. They are not real people, but simplified or magnified, you can say, into types. Okay? Characters are not people, they types of people. Okay? They are made either superior or inferior to normal people. Okay, that's why we either admire them or hate them a lot, but you will never see that kind of people in real life because they're not real people. Okay, ethics, for example, would only concentrate on making great heroes. They are greater than life people. And villains would be really, really bad. I mean, in real life, you don't have that kind of bad, but in movie or in play, you have really, really bad people. Okay, so they exaggerate the types or stereotypes. Okay. And because of that, as you can see, Aristotle doesn't like character and he doesn't care about character. He actually says that tragedies don't need characters. You see, so what is the most important thing for tragedies? Now I'm gonna give you a list and you make a guess for me. Okay. He said that the basic components of a tragedy would be six parts. Okay. The first part is called plot or character. Well, we can write each of them separately. Yeah. And then you have reasoning, diction or word choice, lyric and poets, and spectacle. Now, so you have six elements of a tragedy here. What do you think is the most important one? There's something wrong here. You're looking at something. What are you doing? I don't know what you're looking at. Anyway, what do you think is the most important part? Anyone? Công thành, perhaps. Since you sit at home, you may actually have some brilliant ideas.
Oh, I don't know.
What the hell? Just make a guess.
I don't even know much about the topic. How much can I guess?
It's a tragedy. It's just a story. Everybody has stories.
Mm,
You may actually need to learn this. Your life later on will need to be told by you, and it would definitely be a tragedy. So
I give it.
obviously, what did I write in the first place? It's easy. You can just make a guess. Việt Hoàng, then you go. Make me proud. Việt Hoàng, what do you think? Well, I write it in order for you already. You just have to say it. Việt Hoàng. Is a Việt Hoàng one there? I think he's gone just to have a party. Maybe we can call. Oh, maybe Minh Châu. Minh Châu is nice.
Is it the plot?
Yeah, the plot is the most important one. Very good, Châu. Yeah, the plot. Aristotle says tragedies are made by plot. People only watch it for plots. They don't watch it for characters. And this is very different from now. I mean, now that you go to see a movie mainly because you love an actor or an actress. Like you just watch it because there's uh, the Hemsworth one, the brothers. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth is there, or the Captain America is there, or in my time would be Tom Cruise and Channing. I don't know if you know that those people, Nicole Kidman. You just go because Brad Pitt is there, Angelina Jolie is there. But no, Aristotle said, nah, they're really not important. Well, because we don't even get to see their faces anyway. Because remember, they have to wear the masks. Okay, so he said, nah, plot is the most important one. People really enjoy tragedies because of their plot. And plots move people, not acting and not spectacle, which is very weird. When you learn movie, we would say, nah, it's the acting. People move us. But somehow we kind of forget it's actually the plot that makes the character shine, right? It's actually the dialogue, the reasoning. Now, so think about it. When you love a character so much, like I don't know the Chinese movie, the Trần Tình Lệnh one, it was like from Ma Đạo Tổ Sư, right? Mua tao, lạp sure something. I don't know. Anyway, for example, we love the characters a lot. It was actually quite popular like a few years back. I would say around 5 years ago. Now that you may not know that series anymore, but people love the actors not really because they're handsome or anything, but because of the way they live their lives, the action that they take, the thoughts that they give out or hide from us, all of those events that make their lives tragic heroes. So all of that make us love them so much more. Now you can imagine if they like because the same actor when they go on and they play in other movies, nobody cares anymore. So clearly it's not the actor, even though all of us tend to think it's really about the actors, but not really, not at all. I would even say 1% actors, 99% would be something else. You see? Yeah, very, very weird. So, what is it about the plot that Aristotle wants to say? Yeah, he said that a tragedy is not an imitation of people. but of actions and of life. Okay, and that is why plot is the most important one. So he talks a lot about plot. Plots are about actions and life choices. So whether Kong Tang is interesting to me depends a lot on what he does rather than on what he looks like, obviously. Same thing with everybody else, right? What do you do? What are the actions in your life? What kind of events happen to you? How do you react to them? What are your choices? You see? Yeah. So plots here, as you can see, would be governed by something. Interesting plots or tragedies are governed by something you call reversals and recognition. Okay. Plots are normally good because they have universal reversals and recognitions. Something missing in here. Something missing there. Do, 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 do. My note is missing. There's something about my notes that is missing. Oh, I also have to talk about justice, which takes a lot of time. Maybe we can give that until next week. Yeah. Anyway, yep, let's continue. Yeah, reversal means like you expect it to go this way, but then it goes the opposite way. For example, a character hopes to come home, finish the journey, and then rest. Turns out when he comes home, the journey is actually starting. You see, so you have that kind of reversal, beautiful like Demon Slayer. He goes home, it's the end of the day, he hopes to see his life, wife again, and then said, yes, my life is complete. Now I can live without being written because, he has no tragedy left. My life is ending now, which is exactly why there is no story left. But then he goes home, his wife is dead, poison, poison, poison. And then he becomes a criminal again. He goes to the next Donjo, he kills everybody. The story. Anyone has seen Demon Slayer? Who are we talking about? Yeah, what's his name? Akanza? Yeah, yeah, the boy, the man, beautiful reversal. Okay. Yeah, the martial art boy. Yeah, and Aristotle would say the most perfect tragedy plot, reversal, and recognition would come at the same time. You see, you recognize something. Like this is really your mother. This is really your father. Or like this is really, really not the end. Your life is never perfect, and you should realize it now. You have to be strong. You have a failure, etc., etc. So in this kind of reversal event where you recognize something important, then the whole story turn around it. And a tragedy is a short thing, unlike an epic. You only have one event. Okay. Well, more like one, let's just say one continuous series of events that lead to each other. You see, unlike, as you can see, epics have so many threads of different events that don't link to each other. Okay, like after the war, who cares about Menelaus? Who cares about Agamemnon? Who cares about Odysseus? Well, they're different tracks. You shouldn't talk about all of them. You see, epics are very scattered, but tragedy is very focused to that final, to that middle moment. Okay. Yeah, that is what we talk about when we have reversal and recognition. So a good plot then, what does it have to have? Requirement for a good plots then. You have to have completeness. A story must have the beginning, the middle, and the end, unlike an epic. Epic, you start from the middle, remember? It starts in medias res, but Aristotle said, nah, plot has completeness, you have to have the beginning, okay? And then you have the middle, and then you have the end. A story that doesn't end is not good. He doesn't like it, okay? A story must end, like Akanza, the story of Akanza, as you can see, well, it has to end sometime. Okay, and it is really an ending. It's not like a hanging ending. And that is why if Aristotle were living now, he would really hate series. episodes. He would say no, no series, no episode, very stupid. Because every episode is like a story on its own. It doesn't work to him. Okay, completeness, and second, it has to be magnitude. A story has to have a certain sense of magnitude. Okay, that is why if you think about it, you can talk about Demon Slayer as a tragedy, as an it has an element of tragedy in it. Okay, it has to have some magnitude. People care about big things. You don't have a tragedy about a rat being trampled upon by an innocent car driver. Then you don't have a tragedy there. You see? So we were talking about magnitudes of scales, of topics, of ideas. Like in for the Akanza one, then the philosophy of life, uh, survival of the strongest, weak people should die. So you were talking about really big ideas there. Okay, yeah, or like you don't have to say sorry when you are the weak from that and until like so how his philosophy of life changes this kind of idea. So they have to have that certain kind of magnitude when they talk about these events. Okay, and obviously they have to have continuity. The story should not be scattered. If you talk about anything at all, they have to come to the same plot, to the same threads. You don't talk about extraneous details. Understand? Everything has to have a reason to be there. And obviously, it has to be universal. That's why, stories like homes and families and wives and, enemies, they are so universal. Everybody understands them. Unlike comedies, comedies are very localized, and that's why you always complain, like comedy from the south, I don't get it, and people from the south, comedy from the north, I don't get it, and all of us say, comedy from the central part of Vietnam, I don't even understand their language. So again, you have that kind of localized versions of comedies, but tragedies don't work that way. Everybody understands pain and suffering. Okay. And that is a good plot will evoke fear or pity or both. Okay, it would have to evoke some suffering from the character. Okay, caused by something you call a character flaw or hamartia. Okay, now for example, an evil man and then some bad thing happened to him, do we have tragedy? If when he's evil and then God punishes him, is that a tragedy? Yes or no? No. So you see, Aristotle lists all the possibilities for you. He said, nah, bad man, misfortune happened to him, not tragedy. What about good fortune then? If when he's a bad man and then throughout the movie or the play, he gets more and more luck, more and more happiness, more and more money. Is that tragedy? No, it evokes anger, fears of injustice. What the hell's going on? You see, so now doesn't work. So now he turns to good man. Okay, good man, and as he moves on, then you have good men receiving justice, getting more and more happiness. Is that tragedy? No, people would just say, he deserves it, right? So you have to have something now to make a tragedy. Good man suffering from something. He goes from fortune to misfortune. Okay. But let's just say if he does it because he's stupid, he does something stupid and he makes a mistake and then it befalls on him. Then people would just say, nah, I have pity now, but I don't have fear. I don't have admiration of the characters. The characters have to be, remember, superior to life. Okay, so it's not a flaw then. It's not a flaw in the sense that you're mistaken. It's a flaw that you cannot escape. And that is what happened here. A character flaw is a fate kind of the flaw that none escape. You see? So now you come to this kind of very paradoxical requirement of Aristotle. Characters are good because they are heroes. Yeah. And what define us? Obviously, in place and in life, what define us? Is it how we are born? Is it where we come from? For Aristotle, nah. What defines you is your actions. The plot define you. Remember, I don't like an actor because an actor is handsome or beautiful. I like the actor because the plot they are in. I want to live their life. I want to be part of their story, not because I want to be them. Okay. So here, hero become who they are because they make choices. And we're talking about fundamental choices. We're talking about significant choices. Okay. So heroes becomes who they are because of the choices that they make. What do you choose? Are you going to kill your children or not? Are you going to revenge your husband or not? Are you going to run away with your husband or not? All of these choices. Okay. It's the choices that make you who you are, not what you think, not what you believe. Just doesn't matter. It's what you act. Okay. It's what your actions are. However, it's a fated flaw that makes you tragic. It's not about the choices anymore. Now, so Aristotle needs both of this. Now, if it is just something that you cannot control over, like craziness, for example, then it becomes less of a tragedy. Like the tragedies of Hercules by Euripides. He just gets crazy and then he kills everybody. So that feels less of a satisfying response to people like Aristotle. He said, doesn't work that way. So it has to be, they do make choices, they actively fight against their fate, but they can't. And that is their flaw. You see, so we're talking about this kind of hopeless battle, between the hopeful individual and really, really hopeless fate. You see, and you see that in Oedipus, for example. Okay, he tried to go against the prophecy. I'm going to kill my parents. Well, I'm going to leave them now so that I don't kill them anymore. But on their journey to avoid their fate, they actually meet it. Make sense? Yeah, like Oedipus, exactly. So you have that kind of tragedy, that kind of flaw. Same thing with Macbeth, a perfect reversal, recognition and tragedy. He tries to become the king because the witches said so. Like, the witches said, you're going to become a king. And by knowing that he will become a king, he takes the actions of becoming the king by killing the king. Okay. And therefore comes his downfall. You get your wish, but not in the way that you imagine. Okay. So you have a tragic flaw there. You see, it's not because of him, he tries, but somehow, fate has a way for him. Make sense? But again, they are not passive people waiting for fate. They actively fight it. And you see the same thing here with Prometheus. He decides you have to make a choice. Side with the Titan or with the Olympian. And he always sides with the losers. So now they are the winners. Remember, Prometheus is a Titan. But then during the war between the Titans and the Olympians, he sided with the Olympian. So they liked him. But then when the humans came, he sided with the humans. So Zeus said, nah, traitor again. I should have known you were traitor before, you know. But Prometheus says, nah, I know the future. So I'm gonna side with people I know. Again, he doesn't tell. Zeus keep coming and say, give me the future, give me the future. Am I gonna be betrayed? Is there a traitor among us? Who is going to betray me? So Zeus is crazy about that, obsessed with betrayer. But Prometheus says, nah, I'm gonna tell you. You will be betrayed, but I'm not gonna tell you. So we have this kind of beautiful play in which the gods are brought down to the level of the humans, where they were afraid of betrayers, where they don't know their fate. Even the gods are bound by this character flaw, you see, which makes it a very interesting play to watch, even though we've lost two of them. Prometheus is a trilogy. Now we only have one. Okay, we've lost the other two. Okay, so remember that we make the choices, but somehow we fail. Okay, then you have a tragedy. Yeah. Okay. And then yeah, he said yeah, effects of good tragedies not dependent on performance, which is very weird. And actors. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What percentage would you give to actors when the audience love them and the story? I don't know. When we read Aristotle, it's really like 99% plot, 1% actors, you know. And great movie like Christopher Nolan, he makes famous actors. He makes actors famous. He doesn't use famous actors. And you can actually see that in Dunkirk, for example, he uses no famous actors at all. And then the movie is so good. And Christopher Nolan is that good. He barely uses, famous actors. He makes actors famous, uh, which is very weird. Um, and some movies have great actors, but they suck so bad. Nobody watches them. So we just don't know. I mean, it's very hard. But for Aristotle, no actors, no performance. We don't care about them at all. Um, I don't know if it's true. Mm, I don't know. Would you agree? I want your thoughts on these people. I don't know how important are actors and their performance, even in our modern time movies and theater. Are they important? Now, in theater, you actually rely less on actors because actors, they just change. Have you been to a theater performance before? You know the schedule? Now, for example, a theater would normally have like, let's just say I want to watch Mamma Mia. Okay. Mamma Mia is a long running show. You have like 3 shows a day, 7 days a week, 21 shows a week, and 84 shows a month. So we're talking about 800 shows a year. No actors can actually perform that long. Movie one time, that's it. You just watch it again and again. But they're ghosts, they're not human. When you go to theater, you watch that same actor and they perform the same play over and over again 3 times a day. So most of them last for like 6 months. Famous people like Pamela Anderson, for example, when I went there and then she was in Chicago a week and then she just left. So that's what actors do when it comes to play. They join a set period, they play and then they leave. So the play is good not just because of the actors, but because the plays themselves are good. People come, they barely ask who the actors are. We just enjoy the play. You see? But the movies are different. Movies they ask who's playing. Oh, yeah, Brad Pitt there. Oh, yeah, Matt Damon. Oh, nice, nice, nice. You see? So again, my question for you. Yep. Oh, wait, let me try this. Let's see if it works. Check if it's, how do I turn it on? Does it replace? Yeah, try. See if it works. You can, let's see. Yeah, see if it works.
Hello. Yeah, yeah.
Now
Okay.
let's us both
Yes.
talk, see if it works. I would just blah 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 and you keep talking. See if it
Okay.
works. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Can you hear
Yeah.
both? Wow.
Okay.
Technology. I love technology. Now my class is improved, upgraded. Now people can talk at the same time. I need to buy 10 of this. Huh? Okay,
Yeah.
go.
So um I can make an example like the same movies. For example, Odyssey. We have the version of Raftian.
Mm,
He played Odysseus
mm,
in a version of
mm,
another movie,
mm,
and the upcoming new movie, we have another actor play Odysseus. The movie by Christopher Nolan.
mm,
Yeah, but some um, it depends on how the director will uh, will um,
mm,
will display the movie, like
mm,
in what way he wants.
mm,
Yeah, and also it depends on the actor that he believes that is suitable for the role that he wants to play.
mm,
So I think nowadays, for me, maybe I'm biased.
mm,
Rafian, I will refer watching him, and also I will refer the way the other director will navigate the
Mm,
movie,
mm.
the sorry, the
Yeah. So you
yeah,
still
yeah,
think they're
the dynamic.
important? Who's playing Odysseus in this new one? Paige something. Is that her? She? He? I think it's a he now.
Yeah,
Is it
is it?
Matt Damon? No, Matt Damon is Odysseus.
No,
Ooh, nice. I don't know why people are so against of the idea, but again, I mean, because I mean, naturally we don't really care because we are Asian people. So Snow White can be yellow, and we don't really care. But I think it's deeply embedded in the minds of no. I think even in Vietnamese people now, like Snow White had to be white. But I mean, it's really, really not a big deal to me because back then in my time we couldn't have white movies. So all of us was Russian movies. So we watch Snow White in Russian version, and then we watch everything in Russian versions. And we never thought of them as white because we were taught to hate the whites. So for us, it's so normal to have all of the characters as non-white because they were Russian. So even though technically they were white, but they were Euro Asian. So you see, but for people nowadays, seems that Vietnamese people too. I mean, we got bought out the idea, yeah, yeah. But we'll see. So you think that actors are still important? Yeah. Anyone else? I mean, I am biased in the sense that I love actors too. I have my I have pictures of them all the time. When I finish chanting, like then I have pictures of them all everywhere. And then when I finish another movie, then I have pictures of them everywhere. But now because I'm old enough to know that I've changed, I know that I would not like them for long because of the actors, the role that they play rather than as who they are. But during that short period of fascination, then they are all I have, and then they're really consuming. But yeah, yeah, you want to say something? Online people too, if you want to say something, please say something. Are actors important anymore? What do you think? Uh,
Personally,
mm,
I think because usually when I watch movies or
mm,
plays at a theater, I don't remember the actors' names
uh-huh.
ever. I
Really?
never remember who they are.
Even the famous one? That's something new.
I just see them on
Mm,
as their character. So I think the performance of the actor matters more than the actors themselves.
mm,
Like the actors are only 20%. As long as they play their role well, that's all that matters.
mm. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I just read the news about, I don't remember the context of the news, but now actors can be paid up to 70% of the budget for actors, like for actors in the US, 70% max. It means that if you have the whole filming actors part, if they have like 100 people and the budget for them is like 100 million, then the most famous one they can get paid up to 70 million of that total budget. So it's a lot. Actors, famous one, they really get paid a lot. I think it's in China. Oh yeah, it's in the context of the Fan Bingbing one because she got paid so much. Yeah, the famous one. So yeah, I think nowadays they matter. I don't know, but yeah. But the more I grow up, the more I realize that we like them just because of the story they play rather than who they really are. You know, Fun. Anyway, anyone else? Anyone wants to participate? Anyone wants to give me your answer? Are actors really important? Are they making the movie great themselves? Hopeless. Yeah, okay. Now, thank you. Now let's move on to yeah, blah blah blah. Most tragic, blah blah blah. And then the other part, characters. Well, we talked a little bit about the characters already, but remember, they're not humans. They are supposed to represent archetypes of human being. Remember, Odysseus, you don't remember him as a person. He's just man of many minds, the cunning ones, the trickster. Yeah? Achilles, the hero, the warrior, and that's just it. You don't remember him much besides that. Okay? They're not human beings. Now, reason is basically how they deliver their arguments. Okay, are they using convincing arguments? Is what they say convincing to us? That would be reasoning. What they say. What is their argument? Okay. And diction would be word choice. Beautiful word choice chosen basically by the playwrights, by the tragedians themselves. They're using really beautiful word choice. And this would be our weakest asset in here because we don't know Greek, sadly. Okay, so we can't analyze the diction and the lyrics. But luckily for us, Aristotle says lyrics and spectacles really ornamental. So he would actually say, okay, for us, he would give us permission to learn Greek plays because he said, nah, spectacles are not really important back then. You can create a scene, but dramatic effects borne out by spectacles or by lyrical poetry are not really important. They are better reserved for epic, but not for this one. So they were saying that. Again, very different. Movies now, they are all about spectacles, right? We're talking about spectacles, thousands of people fighting in a scene, the huge spectacle of it. But he says, nah, really, the plot matters. Now you can imagine what, because this one was actually taking place 2,500 years ago. They did not have a lot of technology like we do now. I don't know if Aristotle were living right now in our time. I don't know if he would be disappointed or amazed by what we are having now, because we are going to say a lot of no's to him. Like, nah, actors matter. What do you mean spectacle? Well, our own technological foundation now is about spectacles. All the computer and generated imagery, all of that is about spectacles, right? So I don't know. Huh? Or films like Quentin Tarantino, they were all about the word choice. But for him, no. Okay, very good, very good. Now let's talk about the plays. Remember these, okay? I'll send you the notes and everything. Now we'll go to the play. We are going to focus on Agamemnon. But before that, perhaps the House of Atreides. Have I shown you the House of Atreides? No? Maybe yes, maybe no. The House of Atreus. Yeah, we can start here. There seems something missing. Oh, it's not complete. I just picked something else. Atreus. I think where is that one? House of Atreus. Here we go. Okay, this one is more complete, I guess. Okay. Okay. Yeah, is it better? Okay. Okay, so now we can start from Tantalus. As you can see, Tantalus descended from half god, half human. Thingy. Tantalus was important. Anyone knows the story of Tantalus? Not the tragedy, more like the punishment. He's not a tragic hero. What happened to Tantalus? Yeah, yeah, yep. Tell them the story. What happened to Tantalus? Yeah, you can just put it next to, like, close to your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, so he cooked his son for the gods to eat.
Very good, but you kind of spoil it. That's like the middle of the story, right? You start from the middle already. Okay, but yeah,
so and then the gods found out, and then they punished him with so he would stand in like I think, and then he would sit down, or he would try to drink the water whenever he's thirsty, but the water would come down whenever he tried to reach it, and he would never actually reach it. And then above him there would be some kind of fruits,
very good.
and then he would try to um, put his hand out to take the fruit to eat, but then whenever he tried to put his hand out, the fruits will go up,
Exactly.
and then he will not be able to reach them. So he will always see the water and the fruit like right within arm's length, but he will never be able to reach them.
Very good. Yes, let me just press this. What is that? Can people hear? There's something there that I tried to press. Yeah, you can still hear? Weird. Anyway, yes, very good, very good. Thank you, Chi. So that's the story of Tantalus. It gives you the modern English word tantalize. What does it mean to tantalize somebody? Anyone? To tantalize somebody? To tease them. When you tantalize people, you tease them. You make them feel very annoyed, basically. So yes, Tantalus, one day he says, do gods know everything? Well, we can actually test that one. So he said, gods come down for a party. Well, he often invite gods and goddesses, they come down to parties. And then he said, my son, my dear son, the Pelops one. He actually gave his name to the Greece Peloponnesian, you see. Anyway, he said, Pelops, come here. Daddy is going to do something to you. And then he chopped him up and then he cooks him into beautiful, delicious meal. And then he invite the gods to eat them. Obviously, do the god eat the dishes? No, they know. One person actually eats it though. She was very upset because she has just lost her daughter. Demeter. Very good. Demeter says that she was kind of forgetful because her daughter Persephone was just being taken, kidnapped by Hades. So she got really sad. So she ate the shoulder. That's why Pelops doesn't really have a shoulder, but instead he has a super strong the armor there. Anyway, so the gods really got angry and they say, "How dare you challenge us?" Hubris again. Okay, hubris is his character flaw. How dare you challenge us? So they punish him by exactly what she said. You will want something, but you will never get it. That is your punishment. Okay. Like every time you are thirsty, you can stoop down, but the water will disappear. If you're not thirsty, the water will always be there. Okay. So there starts the curse of Tantalus's house, and it will last for generations. You see? So Tantalus is cursed, and you go down to Pelops. Pelops is not exactly cursed, but he's not a nice player. He tricked, and then he's not doing good things to people. Anyway, so Pelops is tricked too. In this case, he's the victim of his father, so it doesn't really work on him. But when you go down to the son of Pelops, you have Atreus and Thyestes. Then you have the same motive happening again. The second time they were cursed. What happened? What does Atreus do? Now the brothers don't like each other. Okay, so Atreus he cooks the son of literally not cook like now they cook. Okay, he cooks the son of Thyestes, and then he invites Thyestes, come brother, join me in my delicious dinner. And then Thyestes eats his own son. Okay, so they hate each other. Okay, then Atreus, now we call them the house of Atreus because of that. Atreus gives birth to the two sons, Agamemnon and Menelaus. Okay, Menelaus and Agamemnon, they were close brothers. Okay, and because they were so close, they actually decided to marry twins. Okay, that is Clytemnestra and Helen. They were actually twins, so they were both beautiful. Okay, they were actually rumored to be born out of one egg of a swan. Okay, so they were actually kind of like mythical too. Helen means destruction in Greek. Okay, now the story of the Trojan War, then you know already, right? Because we talked about Odysseus already. So Agamemnon and Clytemnestra, they gave birth to many, many children. The most important of them would be Electra and Orestes. Depending on the plays that you read, you have different versions. Euripides and Electra kills Clytemnestra. But for Aeschylus plays, then it would be actually Orestes to kill Clytemnestra. Okay? And Iphigenia is the cause of all this in Aeschylus. What happened is that at the beginning of the Trojan War, before the Greeks set sail to Troy, no wind was there, so they couldn't really sail. So what happened is that I think it's Odysseus, or maybe actually, I think it's Odysseus. He talked to Agamemnon and says, you have to sacrifice something. Who's that? Maybe, yeah, maybe, yeah, somebody. I don't remember who that is. But anyway, yeah. So what happened is that he didn't want it, but he has to sacrifice Virginia so that the win could start. And according to Aeschylus, then Clytemnestra doesn't really take it lightly. Okay, so during his absence, he sided with uh, she got the one over, you can say. She got one over by Aegisthus. Okay, and they plot the scheme to kill Agamemnon when he comes back. Okay, Menelaus was fine, but Agamemnon is a goner. Okay, and in the series of Orestia by Aeschylus, and you have that the major plot of the first play Agamemnon is that he got killed by his wife along with Cassandra when he gets home, and then Clytemnestra and Aegisthus would claim the city, and then the next part would be libation bearers, and then you have the avenge of their children, Orestes and also Electra. They come back and they avenge. Okay, and because they kill their mother in the third play, we call them the Eunymides. Eumenides means the gracious ones, the good one. You means good. Okay, so what happened is that they got punished by the Furies. The Furies are mainly responsible for punishing people who commit serious crimes, especially blood-related crimes. Okay, so here you have matricide, killing the mothers. So they chase them in dreams, and they chase them in the daylight, and they have to run all the way to Athens. In Athens, then Athena, the goddess, she said, let's just settle this once and for all. This has gone long enough. So she invited Athenian citizens to decide, okay, now present your case. And the Athenian citizens, they would form something we call a jury, and they would decide your case, and I will preside over this court. So she becomes the first judge in ancient Greece. And now you have the first democratic court. Yeah, and then she said, okay, that is the precedent. From now on in Athens, we decide everything like this. You have the court, you have the jury, and people will decide. What does jury means in Vietnamese?
Buổi thẩm đoàn.
Very good. Who said that? Việt Hoàng. Very good. Jury
Yes,
is
sir.
good. Okay, so that would be the first democratic system. So you can see that in Orestes, then you have that kind of movement from the idea of an organic family as a social structure. Remember, we're talking about that, right? So you come from the oikos all the way to the first polis, yeah? From this kind of monarchy in a way, you come to this kind of democracy system in Greece. So you have a legend, you have tragedies written to explain this kind of development. From this kind of bad, decaying monarchy kind of period to not exactly a monarchy, more like a feudalism, this kind of kings and queens, Anyway, all the way to a new democratic system in Athens. So you have that one. Remember, Greece was the birthplace of democracy because of this. Okay. Now, so there are some topics that we can discuss in Agamemnon, and we don't have time to discuss all of them, so we'll see, because those topics will come again anyway in Antigone and in Oedipus. Okay. Now, so we can start from the beginning. One of the topics we talk about perhaps can be initiated by the watchman. Oh, I was actually intending to show you like some performance, but it can be scary for you, so maybe no. But what next week I will need you to watch a movie from me, the Old Boys movie, 2013. Anyone has seen Old Boys? The Korean movies, yes. 2003? Yeah, not 13, 2003. Oh boy, it was a good one. We also learned it when I also watched it when I was in actually my Greek class in the US. It was a very good one. It was very scary though. So children, maybe you don't have to watch it unless you really like inappropriate movies. Um, for us, it doesn't matter. I mean, because we know it's Odyssey. Sorry, it's Oedipus already. But for yeah, Korean drama is really good. It's a very good movie. It got good reviews and everything. So I'm gonna upload Oh Boy and watch it. It's especially befitting sick, perverted mind, those who are deranged and you know. But anyway, that's a good plan for you if you want to revenge. You can follow that plan if you are really evil. But it's a fun plan. Anyone has watched it before? So you don't know at all what I'm talking about. It's well, then you know. Well, the plot is everything. So when you watch it now, you may actually not feel it anymore. But when we watch it and we don't know the plot, we get so shocked by it. But yeah, it's a very scary movie. But anyway, yeah, watch it now. So let's just start with the Watchmen. So back then at the time, in Aeschylus play, then what they have is that they have all the system of beacons. You see, all the way from Troy to Agamemnon's. I forgot his city. I think it's Argus. Yes, yeah, it's Argus. Yeah, it's Argos. Very good. And then they would keep lighting it. It was a great system. And in the Lord of the Rings, they borrow that system. If you remember the Lord of the Rings, then you see the same system of telling people, communicating by lighting, the pyres. Okay, you have the same thing here. And so they see that the light is lit, and then they know that Troy was won, and then they're coming home, everything. And here he says the first lines for you. May the king come home and I take up within this hand the hand I love. The rest I leave to silence. For an ox stands huge upon my tongue. The house itself, will it take voice? My speak aloud and plain. I speak only to those who understand. But if they fail, I have forgotten everything. What does that mean? Let's talk about this topic of silence, words, communication, and perhaps the truth. Uh, let's talk. I want you to think about these things for me. And perhaps today we can just focus on talking about this. There's just so many things we can talk about in the play, in the tragedy, but maybe it's this one first. He's the one who announces news, okay, like information. May my king come home and I take up within this hand the hand I love. The rest I leave to silence. For an ox stands huge upon my tongue. The house itself, could it take voice, might speak aloud and plain. I speak only to those who understand. But if they fail, I have forgotten everything. What does that mean? If they don't understand, I have forgotten everything. Let's just talk about the role of telling stories, the role of telling history, or the role of communication in general. Think about it. What does it mean to communicate? Yep. So now in a normal communication process, how many sides do we have? Two sides, right? Let's just call them two sides, right? The first side, you can call them the sender of communication, right? And then they would send something to a recipient. Let's just say the receiver of the communication. But is that simple? You're sleeping. Now, during that process, something happens, right? I mean, it's not like I send you A and then you get A. It's not going to be that simple, right? So during that process, actually something happened right here, right? And what are we talking about? We're talking about language, for example. We're talking about comprehension levels, for example. Eh? We also talk about word choice in language, for example. We also talk about the channels. Eh? For example, what may happen during this communication process, right? We also talk about prior knowledge, for example, right? Like your bias, for example, your prejudices, for example. Okay. And we also talk about our desires. What do you want to hear? Okay. For example. And then after that, what do you have is the feedback of the recipient, and it continue. Okay. Right. Let's just say this is the basic model of communication process. Yep. And now we are already kind of simplifying it. Why? Because we are assuming that the sender knows what they want to send. Sometimes they don't even know. Okay. So you think about this one. Okay. And then you can take an example here, which is the most important one. What they want to send here would be the truth. Let's just say that I want this truth to be sent. I'm having a package, and that package is called truth, and I want to send it. Okay, makes sense. And this whole play is about that. How can the truth get sent? What does it mean when people say they're lying or when they're telling the truth? Okay, now think about that. Yeah, so now we are going through all the citations, and then I will ask you, what do you think about that? Okay, so think about this. I speak only to those who understand. If they fail, I have forgotten everything. What does that mean? Okay, so think about that for me. Now, some other quotation, some nice one. Yeah, now another thing for you is that you may actually notice Nestra in this one, she tries to prove to you something about women again. I'm not a weak woman. I'm a strong woman. I knows a lot of things. I have a critical mind. So it makes us very difficult to just purely hate her. Okay. Now the chorus doesn't like her, but the chorus is sexist. And you can see that in here. Now, in Greek time, then that would be not a good thing for women to be like this. She shows signs already that she's very strong and that she criticizes them. And then, remember, the chorus here is Argos elders. They were elderly men who represent the voice of the city, the voice of tradition, okay, the voice of power there. But yeah, she's very dismissive of them, and she's strong. She's not like woman, you know. When she says my husband is coming home, they said, how do you know? Are you like just a woman who daydreams and then you believe in your dreams, such a woman thing? And she said, nah, I give you examples. She knows geography, she knows evidence, she knows reasoning. She's actually a very good one. Her arguments are strong. Okay, so she can actually list all the places where the light reside. And then she said, by such proof and such symbol, I announce to you, my Lord Troy has sent these messages to me. You see? Now, and she's very, you can see this a lot more clearly in Euripides, but she is on the side of the Trojan victims, not just on the side of the victors. So you see here, there are traits of her that she doesn't side with her husband. You see, the Achaeans have got Troy. upon this very day. I think the city echoes with a clash of cries. Pour vinegar and oil into the self-same bowl. You could not say they mix in friendship, but fight on. Thus variant sound the voices of the conquerors and conquered from the opposition of their fates. Trojans are stooping now to gather in their arms their dead, husbands and brothers. Children learn to clasp the aged who begot them, crying upon the death of those most dear from lips that never will be free. The Achaeans, having their midnight work after the fighting, assess them down to feed on all the city has, ravenous, headlong, by no rank and fireside, but as each man has drawn his shaken lot by chance. And in the Trojan houses that their spears have taken, they settle now, free of the open sky and the frost and the dampness of evening. Without sentinel set, they sleep the sleep of happiness the whole night through. And if they reverence the God who hold the city and all the holy temples of the captured land, they, the despoiler, might not be despoiled in turn. Let not their passion overwhelm them. Let no lust seize on these men to violate what they must not. Is she lying or is she telling the truth? Uh, sh- Clearly, she doesn't practice it. She's having an affair and she's going to kill. Okay? Let not their passion overwhelm them. Does she commit murder in cold calculation or is it in a moment of passion? Well, we know that this is a calculated move. She's very calm. Okay? She's not doing this just because of passion. Obviously, she loves her daughter and she really hates Agamemnon. But again, she's not doing it like a passionate snap or anything. She has a calculated plan, right? Oh, let there be no fresh wrong done. Such are the thoughts you hear from me, a woman merely. Yet may the best window that none may fail to see of all good things to wish, this is my dearest choice. Again, you see this kind of double talk they talk in. Are they lying? Are they saying the truth? Now, most of them believe that they are doing the right thing. The word justice is actually uttered by Aristus. And finally, justice has come. This man is dead. Remember his father. They fed my own, my father's, my own brother. So, you know. So again, a very complicated choice. Okay. Like, lady, you speak graciously like a prudent man. You see how gender is a little bit chaotic here. So you can talk about gender in this play too. Mhm. Yeah, the chorus leader, blah blah blah. Same thing in here again, Clytemnestra. When she talks like this, we clearly know that she's lying. Okay? Take this message to the king. Come and with speed back to the city that longs for him. Now that's the truth, though. And may he find a wife within his house as true as on the day he left her. Is that true or false? Well, it is true. I mean, she hated him the day he left, and I still hate you now. It's just that it's not the whole kind of truth. But you will find me exactly the same as the day you left me, still hating you. Okay? But again, watchdog of the house, gentle to him alone, fierce to his enemies. And such a woman in all her ways as this, who has not broken the seal upon her in the length of days. That's a lie. Okay? With no man else have I known the light, nor any shame of evil speech, more than I know how to temper thrones. But that's a lie. We know that she's sleeping with the enemy. Okay, Agamemnon's cousin, you can say. Uh, Again, think about it. What is the truth? Okay. What is the truth in this case? So really, really think about this for me. Perhaps you can also start that with a beautiful map. And then you can think about it. Well, the map is, you can use it in the context of the Bible or even of now. Both are fine. Let me see if I have the map here with me. Me. Now let's just draw a little, because we are in the Greek time, we can draw the Aristotelian table. That would be a fun one to draw. Here we go. Let's draw it now so that you can think about this one. Hmm. Hmm. Have I drawn this before? Let me see. Nah, maybe later. Now, so think about that. Uh, is she telling a lie? Is she telling the truth? What does it mean a lie? What does it mean a truth? Etc. Okay. Um, Thus has she spoken to you, and while you understand words that impress interpreters when whose thought is clear. Okay, so again, this kind of ironic things. Words that impress the interpreters whose thought is clear. I understand you, but it's because my thought is clear. But clearly he doesn't understand. Okay. Most of the time when we understand somebody, we say, yeah, because we are clear. We think, my mind is so clear, I understand you completely. But the problem is their mind is not clear, and their message has a lot more than meet the eyes. Okay. So again, here, the problem is you don't get her. You don't get the condition that her mind is in. Okay. Anyway, now, and then you have the very interesting case of Cassandra, right? Anyone can tell me the story of Cassandra? What happened to her? Yeah, anyone? Very good. What her story? What happens to her? Anyone know? Yeah, you want to talk about this? What happened? Tell us from the beginning.
I'm not sure if my version is from the beginning, but
Mm,
Apollo loves her, I think,
mm,
and then but she doesn't love him back.
mm,
So um he gives her a gift of prophecy.
mm,
She can see the future, but
mm.
he also curses her with the curse that no one will believe in her
Yeah.
prophecy. So
Again, yeah, very, very good with this motive. Again, remember the motive we start from the beginning. I speak to those who understand. If they fail, I have forgotten everything. And this is not just in this one, it's also in Dante. Later on, when you read Divine Comedy, it's the same thing. Okay. How are you supposed to tell a story that cannot be told? Okay. That is basically the story of hell. So when Dante's come down there, that they will tell you like, please listen to my story because my tongue is forbidden to tell it. I only tell you the story because I know you're not gonna come back to life because you're in hell. But Dante will come back to life. You see? So how do you tell a story that cannot be told? Okay, the story that cannot be told. How? So same thing in here. How can you actually give a story out of something that is not told and yet the truth is revealed? So again, it's very, very difficult. But think about this one. The motive of telling a story that cannot be told is a very, very common motive. It's not just on this one. You have that 1,500 years ago in Dante's comedy, and you have it even now too. Yeah. Okay. So now this is what Clytemnestra see her husband. Her husband has just come home and he brings back a lot of spoils of war, including Cassandra. Okay, and she said to him, "Ah, now my beloved one, step from your chariot. Yet let not your foot, my lord, succor of Ilium, Troy, touch the earth. My maidens there, why this delay? Your task has been appointed you to strew the ground before his feet with tapestry." Okay, so basically red carpet. Now they would be like red carpet. Okay, let there spring up into the house he never hoped to see, where justice leads him in, a crimson path. So the tapestry color, what color is it? Crimson, red. So basically red carpet. Okay, you know a tapestry? Yeah, just like the carpet. Okay, in all things else, my heart's unsleeping care shall act with the God's aid to set aright what fate ordained. Now she's telling the truth. She mixes very little lies. Okay, we don't even know if it's a lie, but mostly it's the truth. It's just they don't get it. You see? So basically, what is she doing to him? Anyone? What is she doing? Walk on this red carpet. To what? Yeah, but again, what is she treating him like? Now you have reversal and recognition. What? Flatter? Yeah, he does. She does flatter him, but there's something important here. She's treating him like a anyone? A reversal. Remember recognition, and you have the kind of ironic repetition here. He thought he's going home to his beloved wife. Everything is gonna end happily, but no. Yeah. Now, I guess. Uh, not necessarily because he's because that's his home, right? But now when you kill something, you kill it because well, yeah, but also well, killing is a common practice back then because you kill it so that you can. What's the meaning of killing back then? Like, now he did the same to her to their daughter, right? Remember? Very good. An offering a sacrifice. Okay, so she will offer him a sacrifice. Okay, make sense? Yeah, so she's setting up the stage for sacrifice. Make sense? Yeah. Now they will be like a horror movie. But yeah, so basically, yes, she's telling him, you be hubris now, you be proud now, I'm gonna sacrifice you. Okay, that's what happens here. Very good. She's gonna offer them to the gods. Very good. And then Agamemnon is smart and she says, "Nah, not the leader. You who kept my house from me. There is one way you welcome match my absence well, but you strained it. You probably praised me to this belong, but yeah, yeah. He's smart. He says, "Now I'm not gonna do it. Such state befits the god and none beside. I am a mortal, a man. I cannot trample upon these tinted splendors without fear thrown in my path. I tell you, as a man, not God to reverence me." Okay, so he's being careful. He said, "No, I'm not gonna do this. This is too much." But she provokes him. Like, come on. If the Trojan had won, you think he wouldn't do that? Obviously, they would do it. Priam would do it. Come on, you see. So she's kind of provoking him. Okay. Mm. So don't be ashamed. Why do you have to care? Blah 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 blah. And what about the people? They talk, they murmur, they won't talk not good things about me. Come on, let them envy you so that they can admire you. So she has good argument there. And then he said, okay, if that matters a lot to you, I'll do it. I'll do it then. You see? Okay. And now you have the Cassandra's case. Cassandra case, and it's a common trope. And what happened to Cassandra is that she was a daughter of Priam, and she was a priestess in Apollo's temple. Apollo loves her because she's so beautiful. Okay, and then but the common story is that he says, basically, sleep with me, and then I'll give you the gift of divination, telling the future. And she said yes, and then he gives her the gift, and then she kind of withdraw from him. So he gets a little bit mad. And what happened is that in a lot of stories, he spits into her mouth. You know, the act of raping. If I cannot rape you, I spit you into your mouth. It's the same thing. You know, you can see the parallel images, right? Same like rape. But now because of that, she always tell the truth. Actually, it's not that she can tell the truth, but that she's forced to tell the truth all the time. That is why they say that she's always in this kind of wild state. She has to tell the truth. Every time she opens her mouth, it is a truth that comes out of it. So you have that kind of nice foil between Clytemnestra. Clytemnestra truth doesn't depend on words, more like on word choice, on appearance, on what the not on the literal content of words. Okay. But for Cassandra, then her utterances are so true, but they have absolutely no truth value on them because nobody believes them. She always tell the truth, but they are crypted and encoded, or the people just refuse to believe her. Okay, so truth value none when it comes to the receiver. Okay, yep, and then obviously Clytemnestra decides to kill her. This kind of version of truth, you can say. Okay, and then what happened is, yeah, you know at the end already, right? They got killed. So you have that. I got killed. Oh my God, blah blah blah. And she's telling them the truth, and then the chorus they decides, yeah, I believe you. I just don't know what you're talking about. Uh, yeah, and then they got it, and then Agamemnon, you know, he shouts, "Ah, I'm struck a deadly blow. Ah, they struck me twice," and then he died. Okay. Yeah. Now, yeah, she says, Clytemnestra, now she tell you the kind of the truth. Much have I said before to serve necessity, but I will feel no shame now to unsay it all. Okay? Can you unsay anything? What does that mean to unsay things? Think about it. Okay? How else could I, arming hate against hateful men, disguised in seeming tenderness, fence hide the nets of ruin beyond overleaping? Thus, to me, the conflict born of ancient bitterness is not a thing new thought upon, but pondered deep in time. I stand now where I struck him down, the thing is done. Okay? And thus have I wrought, and I will not deny it now. Same thing like Odysseus, huh? Right? I do it, I'm gonna claim it. That he might not escape or nor beat aside his death as fishermen cast the huge circling nets. I spread deadly abundance of rich ropes and caught him fast. I struck him twice. Agisto doesn't do anything. In two great cries of agony, he buckled to the knees and fell. And when he was down, I struck him the third blow in thanks and reverence to Zeus beneath the crown, the prey for savior of the dead. Thus he went down, and the life struggled out of him. And as he died, he spattered me with the dark, red, and violent driven rain of bitter savor blood to make me glad. As plants stand strong amidst the showers of God in glory at the birth time of the bats. You know, so she killed him, she sacrificed him. Now, let's go back to that story. What does that mean when you say you tell the truth? What is the truth? Anyone? What is the truth? A very, very basic question, huh? What is the truth? When you say the truth, what does it mean? Does it mean that? Well, now I'll give you some basic first. Aristotle first, or Plato first, perhaps. Truth means unhiddenness of things. Okay. So to people like Plato, well, this is more like Heidegger already, but yeah, like kind of Plato. Um, for Plato and Heidegger, okay, what is the truth? Truth is what you can see. I have nothing to hide, and that is the truth. So in this case, truth is not a content. Truth is transparent, the sun. You see, What is the truth? Well, I can see you. That is the truth. Okay. For human, then it's more like not like I can see you, but more like I can hear you. Like Socrates' famous lines. Who are you in the dark? Speak so that I may see you. Ah, what does it mean? Anyone? Speak so that I may see you. What does that mean? Normally you say speak so that I can hear you. No? What does it mean? Who are you? Speak so that I can see you. Maybe answer some question before you fall asleep. Yeah, anyone? What does that mean? Speak so that I can see you. Yeah, what can be revealed? Well, when I say that you can speak, I can see you. What is it of you that I can see? Yeah,
I think the you that other can see is the one you try to hide.
very
Yeah,
good.
the personality
Very good.
you hide from
Yeah, because when you speak, what do you reveal to people?
reveal your thoughts.
Very good. So I don't want to see you in your body. Socrates better than that. I mean, your body show me nothing. You can be naked in front of me and you show me nothing. I don't know anything about you. You see? Yeah. So when people say that they know somebody, they know the truth of somebody. Most of the time, they don't mean I have seen them naked. Actually, when you tell people that you are naked in front of them, you mean something else. I'm naked. I feel naked to your eyes. It means you see everything in the sense that you understand me. You see? So most of the time when you get naked, it always serves something symbolic rather than something literal. I'm naked to you. You can be naked to God. You can be naked with nature. You can be naked to your lover. But most of the time, your nakedness here is symbolic in the sense that I'm giving you my truth. Make sense? So yeah, same thing in here. So for Plato, the truth is simple. I can see it in all its nakedness. Okay, what is a lie then? The lie to him would be the truth in its cover. Okay, covering the truth, you can say, in like layers and layers and layers. So the unrevealing, you can say the uncovering of the truth until you get to the real truth would be the journey for you. Lie that just covers layers that cover the truth like an onion, you can think. Okay. Now Aristotle is different now. Well, he learns from Plato, you can say. But he says something else. The truth is perfect correspondence between reality and language. So that is the truth because he's tying it to the concept of language. What does it mean when I say I tell you the truth? It means that, for example, I saw Nguyen today, and I told you I didn't see Nguyen today. Uh, Not you have a mismatch between reality and language now. I'm telling you a lie. Make sense? Yeah. So a truth is basically what I see or what I know, and the language that carries it, that conveys it. They have to be the same. And that is why people link it to truth. You can only tell the truth. You cannot like I don't know what else can you do with truth except telling it. Show people the truth, for example. Tell people the truth, for example. You cannot say I taste the truth or like I smell the truth or like you can just tell it. Make sense? Yeah. So again, you have the two basic ones here about the truth. Let's go back to that one then. When is she telling the truth? What kind of truth is she telling? Is the truth in language all that matters? Or maybe there's some higher truth that matters more than just language, right? So you can choose to apply Aristotle. In this case, we can see that, for example, when Cantamnestra, when she says things, clearly the relation between reality and language there. Now there are cases when she blatantly lie, so that's easy. But there's some cases here where there's no perfect correspondence between reality and the truth. Where she says it, it's true, but they don't know something. You see, so clearly there is something extra linguistic there that we have to think about. Huh? So again, let's go back to this one. What is the truth, and how do people communicate it? You can start with something simple. Huh? Some people say I have to lie to tell the truth, like literature. Fictions are the same. People lie to tell you the truth. Some people tell you all truths, but actually to mislead you into something wrong. Right? Some people arrange the facts so well that they create a totally new truth. Right? So what is the truth? I mean, like now you all read the case, and then people understand it so differently, and you can see how facts can be arranged to tell different truth, right? So again, what is a truth? Anyone? When you say you have to be true to yourself, what does that mean? Is that another kind of truth? Let's just add that one in here so that you have something to think. Now, if being true to yourself is all that matters, then Clytemnestra is a truthful person. I mean, she lies to other people. She doesn't lie to herself. Okay. You will need to compare this to Oedipus later on next week. Oedipus is the opposite. He has absolutely no knowledge about himself at all. He doesn't even know who he is. You know the story of Oedipus? Yeah. You know what happens to him? You know? No? Well, a preview. Oedipus is when he's born, he has a prophecy. Oedipus will grow up and kill his own parents, sleep with the mother, kill his father. Okay? So his parents said, "Oh my God, what do we do? Maybe kill him." So just kill him. But the mother's nah, and then you nah. So basically, she sends him away. And then he grows up. He heard the same prophecy. He said, "Oh my God, I'm gonna kill my parents." Well, they're actually his adopted parents. But then he said, "Nah, I'm gonna leave them now because I'm gonna kill them." He thinks that he's gonna kill them because they are his real parents. Well, his adopted parents. But actually, the prophecy means his real parent. Okay, so he's running away, trying to avoid the prophecy. When he's run away, he see a crossroads, a three-pronged crossroads, and then there's an old man there, and he says, "I want to go." The old man says, "We want to go," and he says, "Out, I want to go." So they fight. So he kills the old man, and he goes to Thebes. Okay, he goes to Thebes, and then he can see, okay, this city is plagued by a monster. Okay, the monster is the Sphinx. The Finns all love riddles, and they always ask strangers who come by, "Give me the answer, or I eat you." Okay, and nobody has been able to answer it. Now, Oedipus is the person who knows everything. Okay, so the Finns ask, "Okay, what kind of creatures crawls on all four in the morning? Crawls on two at noon or afternoon, and then walks on three legs in the evening." And then obviously it's human. When you are young, you crawl on all four. When you are old, you stand on two. And then when you are old, you have to have the stick. So it's three. Okay. You see, he knows everything about human nature. Human. You see, but he doesn't know himself. He doesn't know that he kills his own father. Anyway, so the Sphinx throw herself down the cliff, and then she dies, and he becomes a tyrant of Thebes. Tyrant is just an unofficial king. It doesn't mean he's a bad thing. Okay, tyrant doesn't mean bad. And then obviously by right he marries the queen, and then he gives birth to the boys, and then he gives birth to Eminis and Antigone. Okay, and later on he finds out that yeah, his wife is his mother, and his daughters actually his sisters. So get the story. Anyway, so again, true to yourself. In order to be true to yourself, you have the important concept: know yourself. How can you be true if you don't know? So there's some kind of link between truth and knowledge in here. How can you be true if you don't know? How can I tell you the truth if I don't know the truth? You see? Again, you can't tell the truth without knowing it, which is the irony of Oedipus. We'll talk about that later on. Okay? Now, so again, I want you to really think about this one. In a communication process, when you say something and when people hears it, are they gonna get exactly what you want them to say or understand? How do we make sure that people understand exactly what we say or tell them? How? Yeah, where's the microphone? Yeah, how do we make sure that the communication process succeeds? Yeah.
Uh, since you said that language and knowledge and truth are connected, I think that to ensure that people understand the things you say exactly as how you understand it, you have to make sure that they know the things that you know.
Maybe. I mean, most of the time we manage to communicate well, but again, many of those occasions we just fail. I mean, we say this, they misunderstand, and they say something else. And now, if we take it to be very very cynical, then all kinds of process of communication can fail if you see a very difficult boss. For example, if they really hate you, then it seems like you misunderstand them all the time because you give you that they give you paradoxical commands. Like if you ask too many questions, they say don't ask, just decide. And when you decide, you make the wrong thing. They say you have to ask first. Why you're so stupid, And then we ask again, and they say, oh my God, why you this you can think on your own. So again, we have contradictory commands all the time. So how do we know when we can successfully communicate something? And again, we can defend ourselves and say, oh, I give you everything I know. That's all the truth that I know. I'm being honest here. But again, uh, think about the concept of the truth here for me, for this play. Uh, what is the truth? And the second one we need to think about is the concept of justice. I think in your class, I gave you the concept of justice. We have a little small lecture on that already, if you remember. The same thing with this one. Okay. Most of the time when people know the truth, then it means they get justice, right? So you can think about the connection between the truth and justice too. It is required of you to tell people the truth, and that is only just. Okay. You can also think of injustice as people not knowing the truth and they act on it. Okay. Then they call something called unjust actions. Okay. So think about this one in here. When they claim that they are doing the just thing, especially Clytemnestra, I avenge my daughter. I get justice now. Okay. Then they stand on the side of gods. These people, they follow human traditions. It doesn't matter. I sacrifice you to Zeus. I sacrifice you to Zeus. I make an offering and I avenge my daughter who was killed wrongly. I've done nothing wrong. You see? So again, when you read the play, when you read the tragedies, I want you to see that the tragedy is really just competing versions of truth. Okay, and that is the tragedy. That is what it is about: competing versions of truths, fighting versions of truths, truth trying to gain legitimacy. Which truth will become the dominant one? and they cannot win without force. Okay. All Clytemnestra says at the end is that she fails to convince the elders that what she did is right. So she said, I have the money, I have the power, so you have to be silent. Okay. Yeah. So now, and you think about the power of telling story again. We want to end with that here, perhaps. The beginning one. I speak to those who understand, but if they fail, I have forgotten everything. What does that mean? Maybe the simple truth first. How do we make sure that something is not forgotten? Now you have to repeat it. But now, most of the things that we don't want forgotten are actually secrets, right? How do we make sure that secrets are not forgotten? Now, the definition of secrets is that they're known to few people, right? I mean, the less people who know them, the better. Remember the secrecy of Jesus is the same thing, right? Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. But again, secrets have to satisfy these two requirements. They have to stay secrets. They have to be known to little people, but they have to be passed down too. Otherwise, they stop becoming a secret. They just becoming nothing. Right? Secret means knowledge that I share to a few. So same thing in here. Most of the things that are worth passing down are worth passing down in the forms of secrets. Okay. But at the same time, how do we make sure that they are passed down? What do you think? I speak to only those who understand. If they fail, I have forgotten everything. Why? Why is there such a feeling in us that we cannot share a certain story? And yet we want to share it with certain people. You know, that's what the definition of a secret. Hey, come, I tell you this one. It's a big secret. Don't share it with anybody. Why is there a feeling that we have to share a secret? Anyone? Yeah, maybe like there's some kind of God's agency there. I cannot hold it. I have to share it. I have to get rid of it so that it's no longer becomes a secret. Now, maybe that same desire governs her here when she stands next to the dead body and she proclaim it. I do it. Okay, there's some satisfaction there, you can say. Because now, if it is only known to her, it would be a secret to her. And to some people, it may be enough to know that I have killed him and to know. But no, she wants something else. She wants to proclaim this secret to everybody. You know, she wants to share it with everybody. Um, Maybe because she cannot hold it. It's supposed to be a secret. You know, you don't want to do that, and then people just keep avenging you. Yeah, obviously people want to share, you know, their things that they are proud of. Absolutely. She's proud of it. Yeah. Now, so today we mainly start with questions. Okay. Today we mainly learn the history of Greeks a little bit, very small. And then we will talk a little bit about tragedies according to Aristotle so that you know the framework of it. Yeah. And next week we are going to go much deeper into analyzing the detail. Next week we will spend the whole week just talking about, sorry, the whole session just talking about truth and knowledge and irony and then you know the place. So next week I want you to read from me um, Oedipus. Okay, I think you have Oedipus and Antigone there. Let me see. Is that just you finished two plays? Hopefully we can talk about it for 2 weeks. But I don't know if we have 2 weeks. Did we have 2 weeks on this? Let me see. Did we have 2 weeks or only 1 week on this? Uh, where to read? Well, we can spend. Well, read Oedipus and Antigone for me, and I also need you to read Hippolytus by Euripides. But let me see first. Greek tragedy 3, right? This is 3. This is 2. Now you don't have to read 2. You can read 3. And watch No No Boy for me. Okay. So there's a little bit of read. Well, not much. Plays are quite short. So you won't have a lot to read. So I want you to read for me Sophocles, Oedipus. No, not this